Good morning, everyone, or at least it's morning here as I'm recording. I love recording on Monday mornings. I have always been one of those people that would dread Mondays. And so now that I have some flexibility in my world, I try to make my Mondays something that I look forward to, so that it's not so hard. It's not so bad to get the work week started. Now, of course, as a business owner, I work 24/7, right? There's not a time that I'm not focused on outreach or content or generating ideas in my head. But for you guys, for teachers, I want to just put that out there a little bit before we get started with today's episode, because I know that Mondays are hard for teachers. I know. I know what many teachers do on Sundays. Sunday evening comes around and it starts to be that, oh, I got to go back to it. Oh my gosh, am I ready? Am I prepared? What am I going to do? What if that doesn't work? I was there as a teacher. My daughter is there as a teacher. Her boyfriend is a teacher, goes through the same thing. My friends would report the same thing. And of course, I see it on social media. So guys, just know we all get those Sunday blues of at some level, right? Some degree of Sunday blues. And so finding something to make Mondays enjoyable. One thing that I used to do as a teacher is make sure that I did a fun activity with my students the first thing Monday morning. So right after my principal finished the announcements, before we got into really the heavy nitty-gritty learning, and most times I would learn how to incorporate that all together, but we would do some kind of fun activity to get everybody back on track and make sure that we were setting ourselves up for a great week. So just a little thought for you. And that leads me to today's topic, which is learning from others. So one of the top 10 things that my daughter and I generated on our list of things that made us very successful in the classroom, I've heard from so many people over the years, and I notice even again, watching, learning, observing from teachers from all over, is collaboration, learning from others. And I gave you that tip this morning so that you can take it and you can go with it. Because the one thing about teaching that I know, you know, we all know, is that it's all about borrowing ideas from each other, right? Borrowing them, using them as they are, or adjusting them a little bit. So number 2 on our list of top 10 things that will make or break you in a classroom is realizing that learning from others is very important. So how can we do this? Well, there's a lot of different ways. First off, I always say you need to have that go-to teacher buddy, right? That's someone that can give you their time, their attention. Maybe you become friends in the end, maybe you don't, but that person that can be your ride or die when you're at school. And that means that you're not in there gossiping, talking about others, whatever, but you're really talking about ideas. What works? What doesn't work? How did you do that? I noticed 2 of my teachers last school year did this all on their own, and it was amazing. And here's what was so amazing about it. One of the teachers was my teacher of the year and ended up going to become the district teacher of the year. Stop. Sorry, I have a dog. He's my partner in crime, but he's committing a crime right now. Hey, stop. It's a kid. You're going to school. They're going to school. Stop. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, back to it. My teacher of the year ended up becoming the district teacher of the year, and she had been teaching for about 6 years with me. We hired on a new teacher with us, new to our school. She wasn't new, brand new, but she was only in year number 3. And I heard when I did the references on this teacher is that she was actually hired during the pandemic. So her first couple of years were very unusual compared to what a typical start of a new teacher would be. And the principal had even mentioned, because she was new, we kind of set it up to where the brand new teacher would get the easier kind of assignment, because we were already in such a weird situation with the pandemic. However, I hired that girl because she had so much potential. She was one that she really thought through all of the things that she was about to execute. So if someone said, we're going to do small groups, she would actually really process it through, take everything from anybody that would provide support or knowledge to her, and then she would adjust it to make sure it would fit her group of kids. And I'm going to be honest, she did not have an easy group of kids. She had a very challenging group. This was our most challenging group that I had seen at the school in a long time. So having said that, we were talking a lot about how are we going to get students where they need to be before they go off to middle school. They were fifth grade teachers. And the next thing I know, I see my rock star teacher of the year in this newer teacher's classroom. So a couple days later, I follow up with her and I said, hey, I noticed that you were in so-and-so's classroom. Was everything okay? Because they had not come to me. So I figured there were no problems, but I thought, let me give them a little space, see what they're up to. And she said, oh yeah. So, I do a great job with my students, but I thought that maybe I could get better at small group. And I know that she does a lot of small group instruction. And so I asked her if I could go in and observe. So our coach came into my room, covered my class while I went and observed her. And I actually learned a lot, and I'm implementing it in my classroom. Now that is the epitome of what we would want to see as a principal, right? That is the epitome of what you would want to be able to partake in as a teacher, being able to really have that good collegial collaboration time where you're really learning and growing by observing and working with others. And that's what I'm talking about here. Now, do you have to go that far right now? Maybe not, but some other things that you could do is definitely during planning sessions, you're talking about things, ask questions. Because if you don't know something, or if you feel like, okay, we're planning X, Y, and Z, but I've done that before and it didn't work for my children, I need to know why it's working for you. Ask that question. That's a great opportunity for y'all to get into those good, rich conversations about strategies and things that do and do not work. And I'm going to tell you, sitting in planning sessions where teachers have done that, I've even learned some things, and I've been doing this for a really long time. So I know that it's so very powerful. I also think that one of the most opportune times that you can learn from others is during PD sessions. So hear me out here, because I know that PD can be something that's a little bit stressful. And I know it's because sometimes we spend time getting our class ready to be absent from the classroom. We have to go, we have to sit, we have to get. Some of the PDs are great, some of them not so much, but it's an opportunity to collaborate with the people sitting around you. I remember I went to a conference a few years ago. My specialty as a teacher and going into my administration years was working with second language learners. So I was going to a bilingual conference, and it was local here in Houston. And I really had high hopes. I thought, okay, let me get one more something. And I had been doing this, remember, a long time at that point. I think I went to this about 4 years ago, right? The year before the pandemic. So whatever year that was. And I sat through a couple of sessions and I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know. I started to feel like it was more companies coming in and trying to sell them their products rather than giving us strategies and things that we could actually use back at our schools. But in the third session, right before lunch, I actually sat down next to someone, and that session forced us basically to talk to each other throughout the session. And so this lady and I started speaking, and what was fantastic, the session wasn't giving us anything, and we both commented on that, but what we were getting from each other was priceless. And so we ended up, the next part was lunch, and so we ended up having lunch together and being able to continue our conversation. And it was a great way to network and be able to learn from each other. We had schools that were kind of similar to each other, and it was powerful. So guys, those are 3 different ways. Finding yourself a really good teacher buddy that you can collaborate with, really utilizing your planning, PLCs, those collaboration times to get questions answered, to talk about things that are working, things that are not working. And then when you do have to go to those dreaded PD sessions, especially when it takes time away from your students, utilizing them to network with others. Those are some really great ways that I have found over the years, not just myself, but teachers that I know have been able to get some really good strategies and really good ways in which to implement certain things in their classrooms. So this week, again, I just wanted to pop on and be able to share that. That was our tip number 2, learn from others. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to do that, because it is all about collaboration. The more we collaborate, the better we are. You know, we can go in a classroom and just be there by ourselves and think that we have to do everything on our own. And I've been there before. And we might be able to go to a certain extent with our students and be okay. But number 1, it's not as fun, and we want to make our jobs as fun as possible, right? Number 2, we only have a certain capacity of ideas of our own, but when you work with others, it just, that grows exponentially. I can't even say that word today. And, you know, the main benefit from all of this is student progress. And that's what you want, is to see your students thrive and just make as much growth as they possibly can. All right. So again, I'm Sherry with Teachers That Sparkle. If you have not checked out our Facebook group, feel free to come on board. It is a private group, but or it might be public, I can't remember, but you're welcome to send a request in and get on board there, because we are really working hard with Teachers That Sparkle so that we can have an impact on the world of public education. And that means being able to support our teachers to not only handle what comes at them every single day, but to thrive in this profession, to be able to be proud to say, I'm a public school educator, and to be able to say, and I know I'm doing this because it's a calling, and I and my students deserve my very, very best. And that's our goal. So if you ever need us, reach out. But again, get in that Facebook group. We also have an Instagram, Teachers That Sparkle. You're welcome to pop in on there. But we're hoping to really grow this movement, because something has got to change in public education soon. And I know I can't do it alone, just like what we talked about today. My capacity is so much, but I know I am committed to doing my very best and hopefully getting a great team on board with me. We can make a dent in what's happening in that world. All right. Have a great week, y'all.